The history of Jewish communities in Europe is defined by a series of large-scale expulsions driven by formal decrees from rulers and governments, reflecting deep-seated conflicts over economic, religious, and political spheres. Authorities repeatedly cited financial exploitation through usury, where Jews dominated money lending and charged exorbitant interest rates, indebting populations and accumulating disproportionate wealth while exploiting Christian bans on such practices. This led to widespread resentment, as locals and nobles viewed Jewish financiers as parasitic elements undermining economic stability. Religious antagonism further fueled these actions, with accusations of ritual crimes like blood libels, claims of using Christian blood in ceremonies, and host desecration, portraying Jewish practices as barbaric and antagonistic to Christian norms. Political unreliability was another key factor, with Jews seen as disloyal outsiders maintaining separate allegiances, especially during wars or crises, where they were accused of espionage or conspiracy against host states. These expulsions spanned medieval and early modern periods, occurring in both unified kingdoms and fragmented principalities, where rulers sought to eliminate perceived threats to societal order. Other crimes attributed to Jews included well poisoning during plagues, coin clipping, and fraudulent dealings, which authorities used to justify asset seizures and banishments. In many instances, expulsions followed public outcries or church influences that amplified these charges, framing Jewish insularity through distinct laws, diets, and communities as deliberate barriers to assimilation. This pattern persisted across diverse regions, from Western Europe to eastern frontiers, where economic crises amplified calls for removal to restore fiscal balance and cultural purity. Ranking these top 10 by numerical scale of displaced populations and historical impact, such as ban duration and diaspora effects, prioritizes events with the broadest consequences. Criteria emphasize financial exploitation, religious antagonism, political unreliability, ritual crimes, and other offenses as stated by expelling powers. From lesser to greater significance, these decrees illustrate how European societies addressed recurring incompatibilities, viewing Jewish behaviors as sources of ongoing disruption in multicultural environments. Number 10. Lithuania, 1495. Grand Duke Alexander's 1495 decree expelled approximately 6,000 Jews from the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, primarily targeting their extensive financial exploitation through money lending and commercial dominance. Jewish lenders faced accusations of imposing usurious interest rates that systematically indebted nobles, peasants, and merchants, allowing them to concentrate substantial wealth and exert undue economic influence over local affairs. Religious antagonism intensified the rationale, with persistent claims of ritual crimes such as blood libels and a stubborn refusal to convert, depicting Jews as inherently antagonistic to Christian doctrine and societal norms. Political unreliability was emphasized, portraying Jews as maintaining primary loyalties to their own communities rather than the state, raising suspicions of potential conspiracies with external powers. Other alleged crimes included fraudulent business practices and market manipulation that further eroded trust. Authorities promptly seized Jewish properties, redistributing them to alleviate widespread debts and bolster state finances. The expulsion aimed to eradicate these perceived exploitative elements and restore economic and social equilibrium. Many displaced Jews sought refuge in neighboring Poland, though the ban proved temporary, reversed by 1503 when economic losses from lost trade became evident. Despite its brevity, this event exemplified recurring efforts to counter Jewish separatism and overreach through decisive removal, reinforcing established patterns across Eastern Europe. Number 9. Navarre, 1498. The Kingdom of Navarre expelled its Jewish population, estimated at a few thousand, in 1498 under intense pressure from neighboring Spain following the Alhambra decree. Rulers aligned with broader Iberian efforts at religious unification, viewing Jews as obstacles to Christian dominance. Financial exploitation formed a core justification, with Jewish moneylenders accused of practicing usury through exorbitant interest rates that impoverished local borrowers and concentrated economic power disproportionately. Religious antagonism was prominent, including claims of ritual crimes such as blood libels and negative influence on Christian converts, portraying Jewish practices as subversive to faith purity. Political unreliability was emphasized amid territorial disputes, where Jews were suspected of divided loyalties or supporting rival factions against the crown. Other crimes, like well-poisoning rumors and alleged fraud, further inflamed public sentiment. Authorities confiscated Jewish assets to fund state initiatives and reward loyal subjects, rationalizing the decree as essential to eliminate disruptive elements. Jews dispersed primarily to France, North Africa, or Portugal temporarily, effectively erasing their communities from Navarre for centuries. This expulsion extended the Iberian intolerance model, demonstrating how political alliances intensified perceptions of Jewish incompatibility, prompting swift actions to enforce homogeneity and prevent ongoing societal tensions through removal. Number 8. Bavaria, Germany, 1442 to 1450. In the fragmented Holy Roman Empire, Bavarian rulers expelled Jews from key cities, including Munich, between 1442 and 1450 through a series of local decrees that reflected decentralized authority. Financial exploitation formed the core justification, as Jewish moneylenders were repeatedly accused of usury, charging exorbitant interest rates that indebted citizens, nobles, and merchants alike, allowing them to accumulate disproportionate wealth while exploiting Christian prohibitions on lending. This practice was seen as deliberately predatory, undermining local economies and breeding deep economic resentment. Religious antagonism intensified the measures, with frequent blood libel accusations claiming Jews committed ritual murders, portraying their customs as barbaric and fundamentally incompatible with Christian society. Political unreliability was another factor, especially amid regional conflicts, where Jews were viewed as potential spies or disloyal elements unwilling to fully align with local rulers. Other crimes attributed included coin clipping, fraud in trade, and well-poisoning rumors during crises. Authorities seized Jewish properties to redistribute wealth, alleviate debts, and fund governance, rationalizing the expulsions as essential to eliminate persistent sources of social discord and restore communal stability. Displaced Jews scattered to neighboring German states or further afield, but ongoing local bans in Bavaria prevented meaningful resettlement, demonstrating how fragmented power structures enabled recurrent, targeted removals rooted in long-standing grievances against perceived Jewish behaviors and influence. Number 7. Hungary, 1349 to 1360, partial, later regional. King Louis I initiated partial expulsions of Jews in Hungary between 1349 and 1360, with further regional bans extending into the Ottoman conflict period, 1526 to 1570, including prohibitions from cities like Buda. Financial exploitation formed the core justification, as Jewish moneylenders were accused of practicing usury at exorbitant rates, systematically burdening peasants, nobles, and the crown with unsustainable debts while amassing disproportionate wealth and influence. Religious antagonism intensified during the Black Death era, with widespread claims of ritual crimes such as well poisoning deliberately spreading the plague and host desecration profaning Christian sacraments. Political unreliability was emphasized amid territorial struggles, portraying Jews as disloyal elements potentially colluding with Muslim invaders or rival powers. Other crimes attributed included economic sabotage and fraudulent dealings that undermined state stability. Rulers systematically confiscated Jewish properties to finance military defenses and redistribute resources, viewing the expulsions as essential measures to remove divisive and threatening influences. Displaced Jews often relocated to less restrictive areas within Eastern Europe or beyond, but recurring restrictions prevented stable resettlement, highlighting how ongoing crises repeatedly amplified perceptions of Jewish incompatibility and necessitated removals in a geopolitically volatile kingdom. Number 6. Austria, 1421, 1670. Austria saw two significant expulsions under Habsburg rule, reflecting ongoing conflicts with Jewish communities. In 1421, Duke Albert V banished Jews from Vienna and Styria, citing financial exploitation through usury, where Jewish moneylenders charged high interest rates, indebting nobles and commoners while accumulating wealth by exploiting Christian restrictions. Religious antagonism fueled the decree, with accusations of ritual crimes including host desecration and blood libels, framing Jewish practices as hostile to Christianity. Political unreliability was alleged amid regional power struggles, portraying Jews as conspirators disloyal to Habsburg interests. Other crimes like trade fraud added justification. In 1670, Emperor Leopold I expelled 3,000 to 4,000 from Vienna and Lower Austria, reiterating usury as predatory, ritual crimes as threats, and political suspicions during imperial consolidations. Authorities seized properties to redistribute wealth, curb resentment, and enforce purity, viewing removals as essential to eliminate Jewish insularity and disruption. Some returns occurred later, but communities scattered eastward. Number 5. Russia, 1727-1742, broader restrictions. Empress Catherine I's 1727 decree and Empress Elizabeth's 1742 expulsion targeted Jews in Russian territories, initiating a pattern of restrictions culminating in the 1791 Pale of Settlement that confined millions to designated areas. Financial exploitation was a primary rationale, with Jewish merchants and moneylenders accused of usury, charging exorbitant rates that indebted peasants and manipulated markets to their advantage, disadvantaging local economies. Religious antagonism portrayed Judaism as inherently antagonistic to Orthodox Christianity, with persistent allegations of ritual crimes such as blood libels reinforcing views of Jewish practices as barbaric. Political unreliability was emphasized, framing Jews as foreign agents or disloyal elements during imperial expansions and conflicts, potentially conspiring against the state. Other crimes included smuggling across borders, tax evasion, and fraudulent trade practices that undermined fiscal control. Rulers seized Jewish assets to bolster state coffers and enforced removals to consolidate Orthodox dominance and economic uniformity. Later 19th to 20th century pogroms intensified forced migrations, severely limiting Jewish residence and influence, demonstrating sustained imperial strategies to neutralize perceived threats in a multi-ethnic empire. Number 4. Portugal, 1496 to 1497. King Manuel I issued a decree in December 1496, formalized in 1497, ordering approximately 20,000 to 30,000 Jews to convert to Christianity or leave the kingdom, primarily to secure a marriage alliance with Spain following the Alhambra decree. Financial exploitation formed a core justification, as Jewish financiers and moneylenders faced repeated accusations of usury, charging high interest rates that indebted the crown, nobility, and commoners alike, allowing them to accumulate substantial wealth through practices seen as predatory. Religious antagonism was prominent, with authorities viewing unconverted Jews as direct antagonists who undermined efforts at Christian cohesion and influenced potential backsliding among new Christians. Political unreliability was emphasized, stemming from fears that Jews maintained stronger loyalties to exiled kin or foreign Jewish communities rather than the Portuguese state. Other crimes highlighted included alleged ritual practices deemed incompatible with national policy and suspicions of secretive disloyalty. Rulers rationalized the decree as essential for religious and political uniformity, confiscating properties and assets from departing Jews to enrich the treasury. Most faced forced conversion, becoming Christeos Novos under scrutiny, while others fled to the Ottoman Empire, North Africa, or the Netherlands, effectively dispersing established communities and erasing open Jewish influence in Portugal for centuries. This expulsion exemplified how dynastic politics and alliances amplified long-standing grievances, reinforcing perceptions of Jewish incompatibility within the emerging nation-state framework. Number 3. England, 1290. King Edward I issued the Edict of Expulsion on July 18, 1290, banishing England's entire Jewish community, estimated at 2,000 to 3,000 individuals, with the prohibition enduring until Oliver Cromwell's informal readmission in 1656. Financial exploitation formed the core justification, as Jewish moneylenders were accused of practicing usury at exorbitant rates, systematically indebting the nobility, merchants, and crown while exploiting the Christian prohibition on interest-bearing loans. Additional charges included coin clipping, where Jews were alleged to debase currency for profit, further undermining economic stability. Religious antagonism intensified the decree, with persistent blood libel accusations claiming Jews murdered Christian children for ritual purposes, portraying them as inherent threats to societal morality and Christian faith. Political unreliability arose amid Edward's wars, where Jews were suspected of disloyalty and favoring foreign interests over the realm. Other crimes encompassed fraudulent dealings and economic sabotage that drained royal resources. The crown confiscated vast Jewish properties and debts owed to them, redirecting funds to military campaigns in Wales and Scotland. Authorities rationalized the expulsion as essential to eliminate exploitative elements, restore fiscal order, and protect the kingdom from perceived internal enemies. This nationwide ban marked one of Europe's earliest comprehensive removals, setting a precedent for subsequent decrees by demonstrating how rulers addressed Jewish financial dominance and cultural separatism through total exclusion, scattering the community to France, Germany, and beyond while erasing Jewish presence for over 3 centuries. Number 2. France, 1182, 1306, 1394. France experienced multiple large-scale expulsions of Jews, beginning with Philip II Augustus in 1182, who banished them from the Île-de-France region, followed by Philip IV the Fair's 1306 decree displacing approximately 100,000 across the kingdom, and culminating in Charles VI's 1394 final nationwide ban. Financial exploitation was the primary driver, as Jewish moneylenders engaged in usury, charging high interest rates that indebted the crown, nobility, and commoners alike, allowing them to accumulate significant wealth through practices forbidden to Christians. This was seen as deliberate economic domination that exacerbated fiscal crises. Religious antagonism fueled the decrees, with recurring accusations of ritual crimes such as well poisoning during plagues and host desecration, portraying Jewish rituals as hostile to Christianity. Political unreliability arose from suspicions that Jews conspired against the monarchy or maintained foreign allegiances. Other crimes included fraud, tax evasion, and coin manipulation. Rulers repeatedly confiscated vast Jewish properties and assets to replenish royal treasuries and cancel debts, rationalizing these actions as necessary to eradicate sources of exploitation and discord. Jews dispersed primarily to Germany, Iberia, or Italy, with only limited returns permitted centuries later, highlighting France's persistent strategy of cyclical removals to counter perceived Jewish separatism, insularity, and disruptive influence on national stability and unity. 1. Spain, 1492. The Alhambra Decree, issued on March 31, 1492, by Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile, mandated the expulsion or forced conversion of approximately 200,000 Jews following the completion of the Reconquista, marking the largest single expulsion in European history by numerical scale and long-term impact. Financial exploitation formed a core justification, as Jewish bankers and moneylenders were accused of practicing usury at exorbitant rates, systematically indebting the crown, nobility, and commoners while amassing vast wealth through practices forbidden to Christians, thereby dominating economic life and undermining societal fairness. Religious antagonism was prominent, with authorities claiming Jews influenced conversos to revert to Judaism secretly and engaged in ritual crimes such as blood libels and host desecration, portraying their faith as a direct threat to Catholic orthodoxy and national unity. Political unreliability was emphasized, alleging Jewish disloyalty and collaboration with Muslims during the prolonged wars against Granada, viewing them as potential fifth columns. Other crimes included accusations of espionage, fraud, economic sabotage, and well poisoning rumors. Rulers seized immense Jewish properties, assets, and synagogues to finance further explorations, military campaigns, and consolidate power, rationalizing the decree as indispensable for achieving religious homogeneity and eradicating divisive, exploitative elements from society. The displaced fled primarily to Portugal, temporarily before further expulsion, North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, and Italy, profoundly reshaping the Sephardic diaspora, scattering communities, and establishing a precedent for state-enforced intolerance rooted in perceptions of inherent Jewish incompatibility with host nations across diverse regions. Conclusion: Jews were expelled due to persistent financial exploitation, religious antagonism, political unreliability, and ritualistic crimes. Examining these top 10 expulsions reveals a chronological and thematic consistency, where European rulers addressed perceived Jewish disruptions through decisive removals. Financial exploitation emerged as a dominant rationale, with usury practices allowing Jews to dominate lending and accumulate wealth, often at the expense of indebted societies, leading to asset seizures that benefited expelling states. Religious antagonism frequently justified actions, as accusations of ritual crimes, such as blood libels or host desecration, portrayed Jewish customs as criminal and irreconcilable with Christian doctrines. Political unreliability compounded these, with Jews viewed as untrustworthy elements prone to conspiracy or foreign allegiances during instabilities. Other crimes like well poisoning or fraud amplified public support for decrees, framing expulsions as necessary purges to safeguard order. The scale and impact of these events, from smaller regional bans to nationwide displacements, underscore how diverse European contexts, from feudal Germany to absolutist France, concluded that Jewish presence fostered irresolvable tensions. In each case, authorities articulated expulsions as responses to behaviors that hindered economic fairness, religious harmony, and political stability. For instance, Iberian decrees emphasized unification against perceived subversion, while Eastern European actions focused on restricting influence amid expansions. This pattern suggests recurrent strategies to counter Jewish insularity, where separate communities were seen as deliberate barriers to integration, breeding ongoing suspicion and conflict. Overall, these historical expulsions illustrate a broader narrative of European societies grappling with multicultural challenges, consistently attributing breakdowns to Jewish financial tactics, religious practices, and political behaviors. While varying in enforcement, some temporary, others enduring for centuries, the outcomes reinforced diaspora patterns and reshaped demographics. The criteria of exploitation, antagonism, unreliability, ritual crimes, and other offenses, as stated by powers, highlight how expulsions served practical ends, from fiscal recovery to cultural consolidation. This factual analysis avoids interpretations beyond documented rationales, emphasizing the repeated decisions to prioritize host stability over coexistence in varied geopolitical landscapes.